music has been what I've been doing my whole life, and it's a very natural thing for me. It's not even something that I particularly decided to do at one point, but it's something I always did. I grew up in a musical family with my father, who was a musician, and you know, it's always been a joy and a pleasure, and I've been a musician my whole life, so it's something that's easy for me. It's only, you know, it's only a challenge to keep trying to do something different, something new, new combinations, but the making of music is just what I love, you know. I always considered it kind of a secret, the way I compose or the way I write or the way I play. It's not really a secret, but I think sometimes it's not acceptable in society to do something that comes very easily, that you do very quickly. Like if I say to someone, yeah, I wrote that song in 30 seconds, they wouldn't believe me, see? So I have to make some kind of drama. I have to say, you know, well, yeah, I thought about it, and I tried it, and then I changed it, and I tried it again, and yeah, it was really difficult, and like I had to go to bed and get up, and I went through a lot of pain and so forth. And people love that kind of a story, you know, but it's actually not what happens. Really, when the creative flow goes, it's very easy, and it's like breathing. It's very simple, you know. And as a matter of fact, the way I compose very often is I'll just get the idea of what I want to do, or what kind of effect I want to create, or what kind of emotion. And then I go, okay, something like that, boom, and just play. And then there it is. I've recorded it or put it on tape or something, and then that's the composition. I think my whole mechanics of music, like the instruments I use, the kind of styles I use. I'm of course influenced by other artists and the changing culture, but I don't pay a lot of attention to that because I've always considered that time is a lie, and that really what I have is that I have the knowledge I have. I'm aware of what I'm aware of, and whether it doesn't matter where the knowledge comes from. It's all my knowledge. It could be this style or that way of doing things, many, many different ways of doing things. But the technique is chosen to serve the idea. Whatever the idea is, then the technique gets put together, and it could be a combination of just anything from the past, present, no existence at all. That's how I look at it. You know, there's a kind of a natural friendship that comes from admiring another artist's work. When I love what another artist does, like Bobby McFerrin and I, for instance, have a wonderful relationship. I love what he does. I think he admires what I do, and so you get together. It's easy to come together, and I love playing with in duet form, because or in small group form, because it's very intimate, and the feelings between and the communication between the musicians can be very direct. And when you admire someone and you love everything that they're putting out to you, it's very pleasurable, very easy to play. It depends on the musicians that I use and who I play with, that determines what the best format is. Like in this case, with the acoustic band, it was just a very natural thing to be able to make music with John and Dave, because it's actually the way I put the electric band together. I conceived of the trio first, and actually John and Dave and myself worked and made music as just a trio for quite a few months before we introduced any other instrument. Yeah, I first heard about John Patitucci from my wife Gail. She knew I was looking for a bassist, and she heard that John was playing with Claire Fisher, and so we requested a tape, and I listened to John play and really loved what I heard. Again, it was that kind of a thing, of like an instant hookup, where we were able to communicate easily and play easily, and I didn't need to tell him a lot of things of how to do it, how to do what he was doing. And John was always a very, very responsive player, very enthused about the moment, and he's fun to play with. You know, how I met Dave Weckl is kind of a funny story because I remember I was playing a gig at the Blue Note in New York, and I had the intention to find a great drummer. And I thought, you know, the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to ask some of the best musicians around New York who was happening, and they'll know better than anything else. So I bumped into Michael Brecker. He came down to the club, and I said to Michael, you know, who's the best young drummer in New York? And he didn't hesitate, and he said Dave Weckl. So I remembered the name, and that very same night, at the end of the night, Tanya Maria and her husband came to the club, and we said hello. They invited Gail and I to their place afterwards. So we arrived at their place, and Tanya's husband said, hey, I'd like to play you this tape of a new artist that I'm managing. His name is Michel Camilo, and he's got a trio, and I listened, and it was really great music. And my first comment was, hey, who's that drummer? He says, oh, that's Dave Weckl. Ooh, bingo, you see. So then I knew I wanted to get in touch with Weckl, but another interesting thing happened, which we were going to leave town the next day, and Gail found Weckl's name advertised in the newspaper playing with the Billy Connors Trio at the Village Gate or some club in town. And we canceled off our plane flight. We went down, heard Dave play, walked in the back room and said, hey, Dave, you want to join my band? Very cool. The Electric Band got formed around '83 or '84. And we played for a couple of years. We made a couple of recordings, and I think it was several years of a lot of touring, a lot of music production, a lot of playing. But all during that time, I would get requests for trio. Would Chick come and play trio? We want Chick in a trio. And after a lot of requests came, I thought, you know, I do miss playing a trio, but I didn't want to break the band up. So I asked Dave and John if they would like to go and do another thing together, and John play all upright bass, and Dave play a smaller kit of drums, and I play just acoustic piano, and we make a trio. So we booked some gigs down in Sicily. I remember we rehearsed in Catania, and we ate some great food during that time too, I remember. And the trio just went like that. We started with standards. I didn't write any new music. I think I wrote one tune, two tunes, but we just started improvising and playing standards. And again, it just clicked like that. So for several years after that, I had this life where we would play with what we then called the acoustic band, to differentiate it from the electric band. We would do gigs as a trio, and then we would put the electric band back together. So the two bands ran concurrently for years. There's a myth that goes on about this thing about electric instruments and acoustic instruments. And it's been going on ever since electric instruments hit the scene in the late 60s, early 70s. And it just, you know, there's some confusion about it, because in actual fact, if you look at the way music is made and the way actually any art form is put together, and you see this artist does it that way, and this artist does it that way, and as many artists as there are, you will have that many different forms of putting techniques together, because artists just grab and find their own techniques of how they want to do it. The ultimate result and the ultimate emotion and the ultimate communication of what they're doing is the point. Whether a piano is used or an electric guitar or not an electric guitar or whatever instrument is used is only part of the cooking. But we want to come with what is the taste and what is the effect, and this is the point. The technique of music always follows the thought and the message, and there's always something that I like to get across, and something that a feeling that I like to put out, whatever it is. And sometimes having a small group or having only piano or having a duet or having acoustic instruments of some kind serves the purpose and makes the emotion that I want. And then sometimes not. Sometimes I need something else. Sometimes I know I have the possibilities of electric instruments and a different kind of sound. And you know, one way or the other, they're all tools. They're my tools as a musician, and I use them however I have to use them to make music. I never really strove to be just a pianist. My fun in music is to create music and to compose and put bands together and play different ways and grab anything I can grab to make music. And I think the whole act of composing music or conceiving of it and putting it together is really where my fun is. Of course, I love to play, and the piano is one of my favorite tools, but it's only one of my favorite tools. I also love the drums very, very much, any kind of drums. And I personally, you know, have a marimba at my house too. I love to play the marimba. And of course, I love the piano. I love electric instruments. I love the piano. But I'm a composer, I think, mainly. The joy in playing is seeing people smile. Not just the audience, I mean the musicians too. When I'm playing music, and there's an audience and there's musicians. These are the people in the drama. And my goal is for everyone to have a good time, a creative time, to have pleasure, to create. So communication is I think, the most important factor. I mean, I've been studying the works of L. Ron Hubbard my whole life, and he has a great definition for art. He says, art is a word which summarizes the quality of communication. And so when you have communication in quality, this is the goal. And of course, for me, it's fun when that happens. I go home, I feel great when everyone has had a good time. There's something that I learned about communication that I think is a very important thing to understand. For me, I found out that communication isn't just part of one's personality. We're led to believe that you communicate a certain way, that's the way you are. And that's the way you're fixed for the rest of your life. I don't think that's true. I think communication is an ability and it's a skill. And it's something that you can develop, you can improve at it, you see. So as one improves at the acquiring of a technique, the technique is only acquired so that one can then say something or do something or give a message or a feeling to a listener or to an audience. And this is where communication comes in. And communication is not a mechanical thing, but it is a skill that can be improved. And people are always asking me, you know, is that improvised or is that written down? And they want to know. And it's an interesting question of whether you're improvising, whether you're playing notes that are already made in some way. And, you know, both tend to merge for me when I play. I mean, when I write something down and I write music down and I present it to other musicians, it's sort of like the setting up of a game. We go, okay, there's these themes and it's like this, and then it goes to here, and then we go to this next part, and it's like a roadmap, you know. And but always with the freedom for my partners to interpret the roadmap how they want. And sometimes they take a route and they go this way, and then it's a new challenge. It's like, and if you know, if my partners are very competent and very creative, which they always are, whatever they do is always a great surprise. So you go, oh, look at that, and you go that way. So something that started out as a composition or an exact roadmap might turn out to be something completely else. Like if you trace the music of any music of an artist who has played the same song through the years, like Miles Davis plays So What. Listen to the first recording of So What, then listen to some other renditions, and sometimes you can't recognize it at all. You know, I've been playing Spain since, I don't know, I think we recorded it first in 1972 with Airto Moreira and Flora Purim and Joe Farrell. Uh, but people keep requesting it. I played Spain for many years and then I stopped playing it because I got tired of it. But it would always get requested. So then I would say, oh, okay, well, I'll play Spain again. So then I started to make new versions of Spain. Like, for instance, with this group, with this acoustic band, I made a completely new version of Spain that no one recognized as Spain. So they keep requesting Spain. I say, well, I just played Spain. They say, no, but where's Spain? You see? So I think it's a pretty good tune, and it's a jam tune now, and I've just gone back to play the melody for people. Sometimes it pleases them. The trio, so-called in jazz, piano, bass, and drums, is a classic put together. I mean, it's an orchestration like the string quartet, you know, or like the chamber orchestra or whatever. And it just, I don't know, it just works. It started being done and it kept being done, and you have three instruments all providing different roles. They all sound very, very different. The bass is very different than the drums, and very different than the piano and the drums, and so the instruments blend very well, and I think it just works as an ensemble.